So here with Agnes Sam at the moment at her home in York. Agnes, you've just published the screenplay to Dora. What are you working on at the moment?
At the moment I'm working on 3 novels that are in draft and that I set aside while I was preparing Dora for publication. The first novel is inspired by the tsunami, mainly because I believe my ancestors came from that part of India where the tsunami struck, and I built up a narrative related to someone who survives the tsunami, and then the story develops from that basically. The second novel is called, the working title is England Made Me, and it's the result of my own arrival here and things that affected me, because I came here as a qualified biology teacher, and then because at that time Britain wasn't that interested in the teaching of science. The people were teaching literature, history, and some of the social sciences, like sociology. So I had been writing in Zambia for the Sunday Times under the assumed name of Dominique. And I felt I didn't have a background to literature that I needed to write confidently, and I decided, with the climate being as it is here, as it was at the time, I went to university and did an honours degree in English. So the result of that is this novel of my experiences and my perceptions of what the establishment is like in Britain, with regard to somebody who is already a qualified biology teacher, then has an honours degree in English. But to be honest with you, I've never taught in Britain. I've never done any form of teaching. So that is the second novel, England Made Me. And the third one is about women, and that is like very, very rough, so I'm not really able to speak about that one.
So in terms of the 3 novels, which one do you think you'll be publishing first?
I think it will be the one about the tsunami that I've written the most about. So that one is clearest in my mind about what transpires. It's set in India and in South Africa. So that novel is the clearest. The one about England Made Me is partly autobiographic, and I think that will deal with issues that are quite painful to me as I look back at my experiences in this country.
The first novel about the tsunami, have you got a title in mind for that one so far?
I don't think there's even a working title to that one.
And when are you hoping to complete it by?
I hope to complete it within the next 6 months because, as I said, there's a lot of writing there.
I understand you're also working on some short stories. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Short stories are, I look back at teachers in this country and in South Africa. I look back at people whom I considered not to be gentlemanly. So there's a category of short stories that fall under teaching. And then there's a category falling under people who are expected to be gentlemen but actually are not. And I'm trying to think of a 2-word title for that collection. And then there are others, related to political issues that are not school related, and that are not related to people that I don't really admire, I should say, who proclaim themselves gentlemen.
And when do you think you might publish some of the short stories?
I'm going to try to do digital publishing of each one of them, and when I've done a collection, because they will go out cheaper, you know, on Amazon and Kindle and things like that. When I've done that, but I will do the collection in print form, because I do believe in the book and in the use of libraries. And that is, that's unusual for me, because as I grew up in South Africa, we were not allowed to become members of a library. I've never entered a library in South Africa, even returning after exile, and I've never gone into a bookshop in South Africa. So for myself to become a writer is like, you know, quite an amazing thing. I don't think I set out in my life to be one. When I trained to be a teacher, we were recruited by the United Nations. When we graduated from the University in Lesotho, Zambia was becoming independent. It was Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia, and Malawi. And they asked us to go and teach in Zambia because the colonialists had left very few qualified teachers. They paid for our course fees to do the postgraduate certificate in education. And I went there, and I was told I was a natural teacher. So that adds to my feud that I've not been allowed to teach in this country.
And you've recently launched your own website, agnessam.com. Can you tell us about what some of the subjects are you've been blogging about on there?
I've been blogging about anything that really interests me. I'm very interested in snooker, and that relates to my grandfather, who had a billiard room in Cape Town, a licensed billiard room in Cape Town. So I knew about snooker, and I'm very much a fan of Ronnie O'Sullivan. I'm very interested in Formula One because I've always wanted to be a car mechanic. When my family were not allowed to become mechanics in South Africa, when they couldn't start a car, I would wait until they all went indoors and then think that I could work when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, think that I'd be able to fix the engine. So I'm very interested in Formula One. I'm an admirer of Lewis Hamilton because he is a role model for young black and Asian people in this country who have very little that they do except become dancers and singers. And there's a really wide world out there that they can achieve. The only advice I would give to Lewis Hamilton is that drink and driving don't go together. So that bottle of champagne that they're all given should be just poured down the plug hole.
And just going back to your writing, of all the things you're working on at the moment, when can we expect to see new material by you?
I beg your pardon, would you repeat that?
When can we expect to see the new material from you?
The first novel?
Or the short story, whatever.
Oh, first short stories.
Or when can we see the next new material from you? Be it
I
novel
think
or
I
short
can
story?
have that ready, you know, within a few weeks, the first short story, which will be an e-book, you know, on a digital publication.
And have you got a title for that yet?
Now I haven't decided which one will be the first one.
Okay, so people can get the information from your website.
That's right. I write about, like I said, Formula One, snooker, and then I'm very, very interested in African writing because I believe that we cannot expect as writers from Africa to be part of the English tradition. If they reject Irish writers, American writers who are writing in English, I think James Joyce, people like that are not considered in the great tradition of the English writers. So the Africans have to set up their own. That's what I'm doing on my website. I'm looking back at who the first people were were published in Zonk, in Drum, and other in Golden City Post and newspapers like that this generation may be unaware of. And I'm putting them down in chronological order that visitors to my website are free to look at.
Okay, Agnes, thank you very much.